All right. Welcome back to 2026 Louisville show. Hope you guys are doing well. Look, man, we're fighting through day number 2. It's been a long 2 days.
Yeah,
I mean, great 2 days, but it's been a lot of people out here. And everybody's been saying the same thing, right? The energy is different. I know this is your first time out here, right?
yes, sir.
First time out here.
Yeah,
We know that Luke's first time out here with Rilla, but man, it's been a great show. And if you've never been out to Louisville, you definitely need to make plans to come out to the Louisville show next year. Okay. Or come hang out with us in Vegas in April. That'll be fun too. Right. But listen, I want to introduce you guys. You guys met Luke yesterday with Rilla. We're going to get into some other things about that. And we got Mr. Casey Reed right over here. Casey is a man of all trades, jack of all trades, right? But he, as you see by his cap, First Step Homes. Okay, so Casey handles, is it IT and what exactly is your title, sir?
my title technically is marketing and creative director, but there's a lot of hats that I wear. I do marketing. I build our websites. I build our CRM. I handle a lot of the data management and a lot of problem solving. A mix of marketing, creative, IT.
Beautiful.
Above. Yeah.
Beautiful. So what we wanted to do was actually come in and take the time, the opportunity, I should say, since we have both Casey and Luke here, to talk about a real time case study into Rilla and what Rilla's been doing for First Step Homes, for the sales team at First Step Homes, in just a very short time. So, you know, Casey, as he said, he handles everything that has to do with the CRM. So he gets to see a lot of what's going on with regards to sales consultants' interaction with buyers and leads, and now with what's going on with Rilla. So, Casey, go ahead, man. What you got for everybody? I'm going to let you take the lead on
All
this.
right, sure. Great. Yeah. So, I mean, I think when it comes to managing expectations and tracking data and metrics to really know if the marketing effects that you're putting into play are effective and your sales strategies are effective, you have to be able to measure it. If you can't measure it, you can't adequately inspect it. And if you can't inspect it, it's really hard to keep anybody accountable for what you're doing on the team. So, I mean, first off, you have to have systems in place to be able to track everything. So in our example we're in North Texas developing large communities is, I want to know when somebody comes on site. I want to know when a tour is given to a potential resident, a potential buyer. And I want to see notes in the activity log of when they've come in. And so seeing whenever these different tools get used in our CRM lets me know, okay, I can look and see how many leads came into our system. Of those, how many tours did we give? And, how many times did it take them to come into the community before they decided to make that purchase with us? So first off, it's really important to have those systems in place. And then, of course, which is something that I'm sure you've talked about a lot with systems and processes, is getting buy-in from your team. And so once you have those things in place, you get really good visibility into the process. How is it working? How is it not working? Where is it broken? Who are the top performers in your team? But I will say that one of the hardest places to get visibility into is when the salesperson is with a potential buyer.
Yeah.
It's like
sure.
it would be great to be able to be over their shoulder, but as many of you know, if you're there with the buyer and with the sales agent, things are different. The way they handle the conversation is different. And so it's really hard to get visibility into that. And that's the great thing about Rilla and why we partnered up with Rilla at First Step Homes. And I will be the first to admit I was skeptical, and I'm a big IT guy and data, and I'm all about AI, but I just didn't understand what it was. Cesar was a big proponent for it. And so I trust him and his judgment. So we started using it and very quickly changed my tune on it, because it truly gives you visibility into what the salesperson is doing while the team member is there. But because of the way it functions, I'm not having to spend a long time reading through transcripts or listening back to conversations like you would traditionally need to do with a phone call or with a conversation like that, which is where some of the great technology with this comes into play.
Yeah. Hey, Luke, are there any other manufactured home retailers or communities using Rilla right now?
That is a little bit of a testy topic,
Okay.
honestly, because there are some of the larger ones who we have a sort of pilot deal with a few of their communities, and we are looking to roll out a larger scale,
Right.
maybe with their corporate headquarters, and kind of scale it out to all the communities. And so I'm actually not allowed to get into
Yeah, no,
specifics.
you don't have to get into the details of who and whatnot, but I just was curious as to if anyone else was using it within the industry, because you and I were having a conversation earlier, right? And I told you, like, this industry is 15, 20 years behind, okay, the time. So, the fact that we have a tool like what you guys have at Rilla, I think is amazing, by the way, just from personal use and everything that I've seen that's happened for the sales team with it. I really think that, what you guys can bring to the table for the industry is a huge leap forward with regards to how we operate, right? So let's not talk manufactured homes. I want to know, like, other businesses that use Rilla. What kind of improvement, not in numbers, I'm talking about just overall. So what I'm looking for, maybe professionalism, effectiveness. What kind of improvement do y'all quantify that side of it as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of industry by industry, company by company. It depends on the culture. Obviously, the numbers are there. We're improving close rates, we're improving deal sizes, improving deal velocity. We're just making the whole process smoother and quicker. But we also are finding, just through feedback, because it's not something that we're asking about or really measuring. It's something that people are emailing us about or filling out, like a customer satisfaction form and leaving us details. It is changing the culture in certain companies because, people, there's a difference in terms of top performers, bottom performers, and that plays with people's psyche a little bit. Maybe you get a little bit disheartened because you're seeing the guy next to you closing twice as many deals, 50% more, something like that. And you might just think, man, am I just a bad salesperson? What are they doing that's so much better? Now with Rilla, you can see exactly what they are doing. And that's creating a little bit more of a healthy competition within these companies. It's not that you're jabbing their leads, you're stealing their leads or anything. It's just that that you can now reach that level because you have the tools at your capability to see what they're doing well and to see how you can take that feedback and implement it into your own conversations and your own system and really improve to reach that level and become one of the top performers. And so we're seeing a decrease in the gap between top and bottom performers. And we're also seeing that as a result of this competition, these top performers are pushing themselves to get even better to stay as the top performers in their company.
Yeah, so I love you use the word twice, which is culture, right? And I do believe from what you just said, it makes sense, right? It's reinvigorating the culture, or it's setting the culture right, because it does. I never even stopped to think about this, right? Because I'm always trying to be on top. I'm trying to win. So I've never really stopped to think of how so and so over here who is not keeping up, how they may be feeling because I'm over here executing at a different level, right? I don't really care, but I'm just no. At the end of the day, we're all one team, right? And so I can see that, hey, by doing this, where you couldn't get that coaching before, now it almost levels the playing field, if you will, from a psyche standpoint, because I know that I'm improving, or I can improve.
Especially if you are at a company where you might have some veterans and some newer people, because the veterans are just innately going to have more skills that they've picked up over the years, more things that they've learned that has led to their success. And these newer people are coming in and they're hungry and they want to learn. They just don't have that direct sales experience that others have. But now they can really escalate their learning because they can take those skills that these more seasoned veterans have picked up and they can almost vicariously apply those because they're seeing how they are actually being used in practice.
Yeah. What do you see happening over at First Step with this thing?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, just to kind of something that was on my mind as y'all were talking about this is that in a management position, it's really common, I feel like, you look at metrics, you look at how the team is performing for accountability's sake. And it's real easy to look at some of the data and be like, so-and-so is not performing well. Hey, why are you not doing this thing that we asked you to do? And I think Rill is great because it does give you insight into that. But then also on the other side is it really enables you to help them a lot more. And, there's this analogy, right, that like sales is like sports. It's sports, right? And so if we take that analogy and go a little bit further, in sales, you do role playing, you do training, you do all of these different things, just like you do in preparation for game. You run plays out on the field and you scrimmage with each other to practice, but it's different when it comes to be game day. And so you just imagine if you're trying to coach a team, but there's no game footage. So then it's like, well, how can you really look back and go, okay, what did we do well during the game? What went wrong at this play? We got different players playing the same position and they're running the same plays, but this guy seems to score every time, but nobody else is scoring. What's going on? And it's similar in sales, kind of what you're talking about, where you have the top performers and those that aren't performing as well, is that it allows you to kind of narrow that field from the top performer to the bottom performer. And it allows you to look into that game footage and to really coach. So not only are you keeping them accountable, but you're able to lovingly coach them and say, hey, look, here's the things that we're seeing as an organizational whole, and here's what the top performers are doing really well. I noticed that whenever this objection came up, this is how you handled it. I think you could handle it this way, and it would help you go a lot further. And here's an example from the top performer over here.
Right. And that right there. Now we're talking game day, right? You can hear we're about getting ready to halftime show, I guess. The drum line's getting ready. But no, seriously, using First Step as an example. Yesterday we talked about Colton, right? And the growth that young man has had. And we're using him and his recordings as the example. Everybody is learning that they're all commenting on his recordings. Say, man, I'm going to use that next time. I can see that now. Because they hear him say it. It's one thing for me to tell them, hey, this is what you should say. But those people don't execute on it, right? He's executing on it. And so they're hearing him say it. And then they're hearing the response from the buyer, how they actually engage in that. And they're like, oh, so it creates more buy-in because they can hear other people doing it and it actually works. I assume that's the same case across the board.
Absolutely. We're seeing that everywhere. And another big thing that we're seeing that really leads to a lot of growth within individuals is self-listening. Because all of these conversations are recorded, you can go back and listen to your own conversations. And you always have this idea as a salesperson that you are saying things the way that they're meant to be said. You're doing things correctly. And you think that, but when you really listen back, you can see exactly where, here's what I wanted to have said, and here's what I thought that I said, but here's what I actually did. And I didn't even know that. Subconsciously, I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, but I never picked up on the fact that, maybe I was 70% of the way there, 80%, but not quite 100. And if you can recognize that, then you can bring that into all of your future conversations and really learn from your own past conversations as well.
Are there any people that go and leave notes on their own conversations?
I would imagine yes. I would have to assume so.
Of any? I'm curious about that. Now that you mentioned that they go back and listen to themselves. I mean, why would you not?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And I'm pretty sure Colton does.
He does. He actually does.
Yeah.
But it's such a great tool. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of just what it does, how it operates, and how it actually helps. And you guys, this is wow. I'm just amazed, really. And I know it's the great thing about it is this, right? It's only the start. I'm sure you guys are going to add other things to it. There's going to be things that are going to get improved, other functionalities within it. So I'm excited to see that moving forward and all that it's going to do, right? Whether it's First Step or anybody else across the industry. Guys, look, I want to let you guys know we are actually going to do a webinar. Like I jump the gun, man, all the time. I'm like, I tell
Let
my
them know.
we're building the plane as we fly, right? We're going to do a webinar on Rilla so that you can see how it operates. I don't know when it's going to be yet. Mid-February is when we're going to do it. Okay. And we're going to show you how it works. We're going to show you the benefit to it specific to our industry, because it's one thing for Luke or his team or anybody to call and say, hey, I got this great little thing and it's going to help you. But to see other people in the industry using it and how it's benefiting them is another. And we're going to show you exactly what's going on with First Step and how we use it, how it's helped them improve, and how it can help you improve. So get ready for that. Pass me one of those sweatshirts, please. Check it out, guys. Go ahead.
And I will say too, that like sales and like many things, that there's a process. And so if you're out there and you're considering, man, Arilla sounds really cool, I would say even to getting to that step, there's a process. And I think one of my favorite things about Rilla, there's a lot of things I really like about it, but is that at First Step, we have a defined sales process that is built in so that we're able to track, okay, there's 14 different steps during a tour when a sales consultant is with a customer that we want them to hit, and it'll score and be like, okay, Colton hit 11 of the 14 different points. But if you don't have a process, then it's hard to measure that process, which is really where MH Sales Mastery has come into the picture. So
I like that.
About a year ago, we found ourselves at First Step Homes in a position where we had the development of our communities really locked in. I mean, marketing was working well. I think in 2024, we had 4,000 new leads, like each individual new lead that came into our CRM system through that year. But when we tracked the metrics, the conversion rates just weren't there for what we needed. And we realized that not that we had a broken process for sales, we didn't have a process. So we started looking for that, and we were fortunate to find Cesar and MH Sales Mastery, and we brought them in for an intensive training. And we saw a huge potential with that. And unfortunately, our sales manager quit shortly after. So we're in a position where we're like, hey, we've got this guy here that knows what he's doing, that understands where we're trying to go. So he was able to come in and help build and implement this process for us to follow. So then once we had that established, then we were able to layer Rilla on top of that. So if you find yourself in this position and you're going, hey, we don't have a process, we want visibility into this, I would say the first step that you need to take is to figure out what your sales process is, get that dialed in. And then once you start to do that, that's when you begin to layer in the tools like Rilla.
And why do we need a process, right? Everything, like I spoke about this morning, right? You either want to win or you don't want to win. There's no in between. Okay. I tell people all the time, average sucks, man. I lived average too many years of my life. Average sucks. I want to win. I want to be on top. Okay. Some days you don't, some days you lose, but I want to win most of my days. And in order to win, you have to have a process. You have to have a game plan. You have to have things in place, right? Because just like I wanted to show you guys this, right? This is the Rilla sweatshirt that they got out here. But check this out, man. I love this. I wanted to take it up on the speech and I forgot to grab it. I was going to show it up there. Check it out, man. All right. Look at it. Sales is a sport. And it really is.
It really is.
Sales is a sport. All right. Go ahead.
It's like, just to kind of continue with the sports analogy, you said, why do you need a process? And I go, okay, let's be real. Like on some level, we talk about how we're not really competing against each other because there's a finite amount of people in that 10% range that we already have in the manufactured housing space, right? And we're going for people outside of that to bring that in. Yes. At the same time, we are still competing against other retailers and other communities. So to follow the sports analogy, if you have a team that has plays that they have rehearsed and they're well trained, and then you have a team, quote, a team that just gets together on the weekend and scrimmages, and they don't have plays, they just get together and kind of try to figure out on the fly. You tell me which team is going to come away at the end that's going to win. The team that has plays is going to win every single time, hands down, even on their worst day. And why is that? Because they have processes and procedures. They have plays in place.
That's right. And so it all comes down to that. So with that being said, like we said, man, we want you guys to be a part of this. If you have any desire to see what can I do to improve our effectiveness, our closing percentages, our pull-through rate, fund more homes, you've got to be there for this webinar. We're going to do it in mid-February. We're going to introduce Rilla to the industry. We already did by having Luke here with us now, but we want to bring it specifically just an info set, maybe an hour, hour and a half, who knows, 2 hours, however long it goes. But we're going to bring it to you. We're going to bring you a special offer for it so that you can get signed up on the spot. And you and your team can go and start analyzing this thing and go from right? Because average is the enemy, to being great, executing at a high level. And Luke, I mean, what are your final parting thoughts on what people should be doing right now?
I think step one, first and foremost, is absolutely to have a sales process in place. That is the key. You're not going to create a championship winning system if you do not have a sales process. And then step two, you can't execute a championship winning system if you don't have that visibility into the field. So it's step one, MH sales mastery. Step two, Rilla. And the last thing I'll say on our partnership is that it is a limited offer in the sense that there are only so many seats who would be eligible on a first come basis for the partnership that we have in place currently. So if you are interested, make sure that you are staying on top of it, looking out for that webinar, and being a part of this movement.
Yeah, we'll put the link. We've got a link right already where people can go and get info on it, I think, set up, right? So we're going to put that in the comment section of this a little bit later. And then also in the replay, we'll put it on there, but we're also going to get you the details. Don't wait for the webinar in February. Go get the info now. And that way you can be, because it's just like Luke said, there's only a limited amount that we worked out together where you get it at a very discounted rate. And that small investment that you're going to make in your team, in your individual team members, is going to have a huge ROI just with this one tool. Okay, man, our training is great. But this is that cherry on top that will just take it way over. And you guys need to be a part of it. So look out for that. We appreciate you guys being with us. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Luke. And thank you, folks. Thank you for being with us. And we'll be back here shortly with another episode of Manufactured to Win Live.